Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm T with Teresa H Creates, and today we're going to make mini accordion journals with a single sheet of 12 by 12 paper. I had to unearth this. It's been a minute since I've done this. The first time I did this was at a library binding class. It was a book binding class, and this was just the little tutorial that she did. And we also did a little 4-hole stitch here. But anyhow, these have just been kind of laying around reminders, and I thought I needed to do something with all of this paper that I've got from this spring market collection. And so I decided to play around with making little mini accordion journals. And so let me show you what we're going to do. I've got this tied up on either side because it is an accordion. It is going to spring free. And let's show you what I've made here. So I took this single piece of 12 by 12 paper, and this one, I decided to leave some of these blank because I thought if you wanted to put a mini picture, you know, and then write out what it's about, little descriptions, got a little pocket here, then you could. So everywhere where you don't see anything is a place to put, you know, a photo. A little mini pic. And this is a little tuck. And then be happy. And then let's go to the other side. Simple things. And these I covered, and you can still put a little picture here on this, but I covered them because I was using directional double-sided paper. And so when I folded this, I folded it in a way that it was sideways. So it's got some nice pattern in the background, but I tried to cover the majority of it. So, which is also a good way to use up some of your paper scraps and whatnot. So that's the first one. And then this one I made just a tiny bit smaller. I've got this baker's twine here holding this together. I just wrapped it and tied it. So this one is a 3 by 3, and then this one is a 2 by 2. Again, a single sheet of 12 by 12 paper. That's what it looks like front and back. So let's go through here. I've got the little front with date, and this is little pockets here with these tiny little tags. And this one is really tiny, so I didn't do anything on these for leaving pictures. I mean, you definitely could if you had some that were that tiny, but I just ended up decorating each of these little pages on this one. That's really cute. And so you fold it out, and there you go. That's what that looks like. Cute, right? Okay. And then we'll flip it over and look at the other side. Here we go. And again, same thing on this one. Just decorated each of these little pages, and some of them I just left with some of the little cardstock or pattern cardstock fronts and didn't decorate them at all. And then like this one here is solid. Several of these are solid, don't have anything on them. Let me go through here so you can see them. Isn't that cute? So cute. And this one, when I did it also, it was the same paper as this one. And this time I folded it in a way that some of these pages are upright, but then because of the way you fold it, some of them were upside down. So then I had to cover those. So again, the ones that were the correct direction, and then the ones that were not, and then it just ended up working out. So let me set these aside and let's get started with this tutorial. Super simple, very basic. Like I said, it was one of the first things I ever learned when I took it was a book binding class for beginners, and that was the little accordion journal is what was taught. So I've got a single sheet of 12 by 12 paper. You don't have to start with 12 by 12 paper. You can make yours any size that you want, but you do want it to be square. Whatever paper you start with, it needs to be square. So it's got to be the same measurements on all 4 sides. So for this one, I'm going to do another 3 by 3. So I am going to put it on my scoreboard, and I am going to score at 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches. And then if you wanted it to be the little 2 by 2, you would obviously do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and that would be it. Okay, then we're going to flip it over. And we're going to do the same thing. So again, I'm doing the 3 inches, the 3 by 3 book. So let's do 3, 6, and 9. Super simple. All right. Okay, we've got that done. If you're worried or concerned about the pattern on the back and it's just too fiddly for you, this can be done with a solid sheet of paper, just one solid color, or you could do a pattern that's non-directional on both sides, and then that way you won't have to worry about the direction on this. But if you decide to do this direction, it really isn't a problem. There's a workaround for everything. Like I said, you can use some of your scraps to cover up some of the images. So really not a problem. Just like I did decorating that. I think it's a little bit easier for me to do this with it on a little bit more of a plain background here. It wasn't quite as busy as the other. And so what we are going to do is I can see these fold marks. I don't know if you can, but I can see these. And so what I'm going to do is cut this in like an M or a W type shape. And you can definitely use your scissors, pull your scissors out and cut this. This isn't a problem, but I am going to do this with my ruler. So I've got a straight edge and then my, my blade here. So I'm looking for that first score line. Okay, before I go in with my straight edge, I'm going to go in and I'm going to mark this just so that you can see it. Okay. It'll be a little bit easier for you to see on here. So I'm going to go up to this box here. So I'm going up 3 boxes and then I'm going to mark it down that first score line. And then I'm going to go here, the end, and I'm going to mark it right down that score line. And then this one is going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to start at the top with this one, and I'm going to go here. So we're going to make cuts where those lines are marked. So you're going to want to cut to here on the outside, and then on the inside, you're going to cut to here. And if you wanted to do it the other way, you could go from here to here, here to here, and then up the center to there. But let's go ahead and get cutting. I'm going to put my blade there and follow those lines. I just wanted you to be able to see. Those lines aren't necessary to draw unless you need it for yourself. I just wanted you to kind of be able to see where I was going to be making these cuts. I'm going to give it 2 passes to make sure it is nice and cut. And I'm going to flip it over to make sure, sometimes I don't always apply enough pressure. So let's go back here. Get it? I may have to go in with the scissors. Yep, again, I did it in that spot too. So let me see if I can do this one a little bit better. So I need to put a little bit more pressure right up at the top. And it helps if you don't slide. All right. I keep pushing my straight edge. Sorry about that. All right. All right, let's see. We can get this. And you can definitely use your scissors if you want. I just find that when I use my scissors, the line isn't as straight, which is fine. But if you did and you wanted to cut up this entire side there and there, you can always use your scissors. You can also use your cutting board, not a problem. You just got to be careful that you don't cut all the way to the end. All right, let me move this aside. And now we're going to start folding. So you should have something that looks either like an M or that looks like a W. And then let's see, which way are we going to start? Let's just start here. And then I grab my bone folder, and you can just start folding these. However, I grab my bone folder and I do this because I want them to line up. So I try to line it up as much as possible as I'm going along. So I like to use my bone folder. So I'm going to take the first edge and I'm going to put it up to where it meets the score line here for the next square. And then I'm going to fold that down, right? Okay. Now we're going to zigzag or accordion. So I'm going to flip it over, and I am going to bring this edge to the score line, and then score that. And again, this edge to the end, and score. Okay, now that I'm here, I'm going to flip it together, line up those score lines. All right, and then score. Now I'm going to go back up. I hope that that makes sense. Am I making sense? So you're basically just going to follow the line, meet that score line, and we're going to alternate front, back, front, back. And the reason I flip the paper when I'm doing this is just so that I can make sure that I'm actually meeting that score line and I'm getting some nice straight edges. You definitely don't have to do that. If you're not as fussy as me and you want to just fold it up, then that's not a problem. All right, so here, I'm going to go up to this score line. See how it's not quite there? I want it to be up there, and then I'll fold it, and it looks like there we go. Okay, now again, we come to this part right here. I know that this part is the tricky part that kind of confuses people. We're going to fold it in on itself. Again, so here we go. Once you've done this once or twice, it's super simple. Super simple. We're just trying to get that nice accordion fold. And you can see I'm already coming off a little bit. And some of your edges, some of your little squares will be larger than others. And don't worry about it too much. We'll be able to cover them. It's not a problem. Where is my bottom? All right, line that up. Get that score done. And then I'm going to take this edge to the score line. And I hope I'm not confusing you too much by moving it back and forth. I just want to show you that this is how you're going to do it. Definitely, it's going to flip-flop either way. So we're going to meet. Got that lined up, and I'm going to score that, and we're back again to this little guy. This seems to be the trickiest part for everyone, is the corner where it changes direction and folds up on itself. So we're in the home stretch here, guys. So I'm going to meet that score line, score, and then line this guy up, score, and then we'll fold this over with the last bitty bit and score. And then there is our book. And you'll notice some of them, right, are upside down, not a problem. This is what the book looks like on this side. And then, so we've got 3 that are going to be the correct direction, and then a few that are the wrong direction. But we'll cover those up, and I'll show you how to do that. So it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so now let's open up. And then this is what we've got. So we have these little parts where they fold it up on themselves. These are the ones that we are going to attach, okay? But I'm thinking about this, and I do want, this is where I want to put my pockets, where I'm going to attach these, because you can see here, when you open it up, right, they bend. All right, so this is what you should have, and you should have 3 of these. Okay, so my accordion folder, or my accordion journal, is going to open like this. So I am going to create pockets on these 2 up here at the top, okay? So let me take my hole punch. I'm going to try to center it as much as possible. I'm going to give it a little notch. And then I am going to take my wet glue, and I'm going to glue on 2 sides. So here and here. I got a lot of glue down there at the bottom, and then not so much on the rest of it. My art glitter glue has been acting been acting up here. Okay, now I'm going to fold this together. And I know I've got glue coming out here on the edge because that was a lot of glue. And now I've got my little pocket. Perfect, right? Okay, so we're going to do the same on this side. We've got this flap here on the end that does this. And I'm going to create a notch on the opposite side here. So let me get my little circle punch. Try to center it as much as possible and notch. And again, I'm going to do this on 3 sides. Now, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to mess with pockets, you can just glue these together. Just glue them together. Not a problem. You don't have to have pockets if you don't want pockets. Not a problem at all. Okay. So now this is what we've got, right? Okay, let's address this one. So this one in the center here is going to go this way. So I'm going to do a little side pocket. So let's turn it up this direction. And this one, if you didn't want to do the side pocket and you wanted to just, again, glue it together and just have the top pockets, then that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and create a little side pocket. Because the more places I have to put some of my scraps to use these apps, the better. The better. Because I'm still trying to use up these scraps from the spring market collection, my never-ending collection. All right, so let's look at the final product. Pocket, 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 and the end. That's it. That's how easy it is. And now you go in and you decorate. All right, I'm not going to decorate the entire thing with you on camera, but I am going to show you a few things that you can do to decorate some of these pages. If you like this closure that I did here, I am going to show you how I did that. So I have a lot of these little ornate nesting dies, and so I ended up taking these 2 guys right here. This one actually works perfect. It is the perfect size for this. So I'm guessing that that's a 3x3 die, right, of some sort. And then I've got all of these little guys that I went ahead and I pre-cut. And I'm just going to see what I would like for the front of this to look like. What image do I want on the front of this? I think that I want to keep it as neutral as possible just so that I can go, oh, you know what? I love this. I love this. Let's do that one. All right, I'm going to ink that up. Got some walnut stain here. Go ahead and ink up my edges. This now is a good time to go ahead and ink up the edges of your book if you would like. If you do want inked edges, all I do is I open it up and I literally just go all the way down the line. All the way down the line, just like this. I'm going to get the edge, and then we come all the way back down. This is the one I'm going to use, so I'm going to go a little bit further with this one, okay? And then I go in, and I get all of these little guys here, front and back where the folds are. Where the folds are. And you're going to do the same on the opposite side. So a lot of inking, but this is a good time before you start putting anything down to go ahead and go through and to ink up those edges if that's what you want. So let's go back to assembling this. Need something to hold it down. Okay, there we go. Let's see, should I add, I'm going to do some pink ribbon this time. I'm going to measure out about 15 inches. That works for me. I've got some double-sided tape. All right, and I'm going to try to put a piece of this right along the center, or as center-ish as possible. Let me burnish this. peel that off. Okay. This ribbon is very crinkled. So let's see here. If I can get it to unfold just a little bit to get it down. See if I can get it flat just a little bit to get it down here. There we go. So that is down. Now I'm going to put a little wet glue on here. Tell you, it is just being difficult with me. It's just been giving me a hard time lately. I get a little bit out. There must be a clog in there somewhere that's right at the tip of this, so that it gives me a little bit of glue and then clogs right back up. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to center this, pop it down. And there we go. We've got our front. So I did not add these. This was like the very last thing that I did in this entire project, but I wanted to show you, if you were interested in that closure, what that looks like. So I did that on the front, and then I also do the same thing on the back, and then I was able to tie it up on the sides. And that was how I did that. And so, like, if I'm going through and I'm going to decorate, just to give you some ideas, these right here, I used either open, or I would put, like, I have some stamps and dies. So I have this little guy that I absolutely loved. I would put him here and then decide which of these are going to be my picture pages. So, like, definitely a picture page because they're the right side up, right? And then maybe this one is a, you know, a memory page. Is it making sense? I hope that it is. So I was using, like, I did go ahead and cut out a bunch of these, and if I wanted to ink up the edges, then I would go in and I would just add these, right, to all of these that are upside down. And that way it covers those. We've got some background, but nobody's paying close enough attention that they're really watching that. But we've got some nice little background pieces. And then we've got ours that are forward facing. And then if we wanted to use some of these for the dialogue, I had the nested dies. So then I've got this here. So then somebody could use that as a writing space or whatever. So you could double those up also. I also pulled some of the cut aparts that were in there, and you could definitely cut these down to size and then use them as decoration inside of your journal. I did that on a few of these, remember too, and I just cut it down and used it there. You can also add pockets. I like using my little lace border punches so that I can do little decorative pockets. So I did that on these, did a little bit of a trim there. And so these I just left totally square. You could do that. The details right here. So this is another cut apart. You can do perfect squares if you don't have to have all these tools. So if you don't have these little nested dies or any kind of little nested die that would fit in this, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just cut your squares. You can round the corners if you wanted to. You can just do the decorative stuff on the outside. I mean, it's yours to do with what you want. Play around with it. Have a good time. But even in this little tiny one, I was able to make, you know, little pockets in it. So that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then the miniature tags. So you can do pockets and things in it and just play around. And like I said, if the issue with it being, and see here, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want here on this side because it's non-directional. So, and that's where I liked using these guys, because then I can break up this pattern, right? So if I pop these in here, I'm able to break up the pattern every so often, you know, and then it really adds a lot to the decor. So I'm going to keep working on this. I'll come back and show you what the finished product looks like. I'll be back in just a few. And I'm done. This thing came out really sweet. So that's the front of it, sweet, or we could flip it over and then that's the front of it. Either way, let's just start with this direction. So this says It's a Wonderful Life. And then I've added just a little bit of ephemera here and there. So you can add pictures to either the blank spots or to these little matte spaces. You can leave some of these just open. Here's a little pocket, be kind. Writing space, picture space, and sweet. And then we flip to the other side. Little mats. Here's a little tag, open space, writing space. Here's a little tag here. Remember to, and there's another little tag. Oh, is that, you know what? That's that side. I just see them sticking out and I'm like, yep, that's it. Little writing space. And then this here is a little journaling card in this one. So I took some of the scraps and made kind of a master board and had a little bit of fun with some distress oxides on the back, and then cut those up into little journaling cards. Oh, you know what? I didn't have anything for my little tuck spot. I have a little tuck spot. I didn't put anything in there. Let's do something simple. Let me ink this up. It's just a little writing spot. A little decorative background. We'll pop that right in there. There we go. And then again, you know, for writing or for adding pictures, ephemera, whatever, pictures and ephemera, whatever. More writing spot. There's a little tag there. And then there. And then let's open it up. And that's what it looks like. It does sit up. So if you wanted to display it, you could. And then again, on the flip side, that's what it looks like. So these are super cute, super easy, great for beginners. And then, you know, they can be as embellished or not. And I did tie it down on both sides, or I've got the ties to tie it down on both sides because, you know, it is accordion. But once you've filled it up, see, it sits pretty flat. It's not 100% flat, but it's weighed down. So it's not like it's going to pop up and it's flying everywhere. So let me tie up these edges though. But you know, there's so many things that you can do with this. I'm kind of wanting to, I've been trying to use up this Cartabella Spring Market collection that I've got here. But I keep thinking every time I was doing this, I was like, you know, this would be so pretty with like some mixed media paper or some watercolor paper. And then to just go in and spray and stamp and make kind of like a little masterboard work or whatever, and then cut it and fold it and then add all your little scraps and things, something maybe a little bit darker, and not use, you know, pattern paper, but use book page and old ephemera bits and little floral bits. And I may play around with that because I've been wanting to do that now that I've got it going. And then here are some of the little journal cards I made from that little master board because I wanted some inserts for this, and I thought, well, why not, right? And then the backs, like I said, I just used some oxides and some water and had fun with that. So there we go. If you have any questions for me, put them down in the comment section. I do appreciate all of your likes, your comments, your views, your shares, all of it. It's really been growing my channel. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. I'm really close to hitting the 3,000 mark, and that is my next big goal. So I would appreciate your support in that. And until next time, bye.